Speaker McCarthy and House Republicans want to force working Americans to accept either a punch to the gut or a blow to the head. I urge Speaker McCarthy to stop wasting any more time on this DOA, dead on arrival bill. Time is running out for Congress to work together to avoid catastrophe.
All right, Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer addressing the debt ceiling proposal from House Republicans. Speaker Kevin McCarthy says the measure should get a full House vote today, though he still may not have enough Republican votes for it to pass. Joining us now, Director of the Office of Management and Budget, Shalanda Young. Thanks for being on this morning with us. So where does this stand? I mean, if Republicans can get this through, what does the White House think of the Republican proposal? Where does the negotiation go from there?
Mika, you know, I always like to take a step back here because this can sound overly complicated for those who don't live this day in and day out. What are we talking about? Congressional Republicans have a bill that says we'll avoid default, we'll help the American people out, but only in exchange for some unrelated policies and millions of dollars in cuts to programs that working families depend on. We're talking about veterans' medical care, nutrition for seniors like Meals on Wheels, rail safety, FAA cuts. Like, they're vague on purpose because when the American people hear what the details are here, they're not for it. And that's why the president has been crystal clear. Take default off the table. Let's not even flirt with default. Remember in 2011, we flirted with, we didn't default, but our credit rating suffered. We're America. We pay our bills. Let's not play politics with the full faith and credit of the United States.
So where's the room for negotiation on this, if there is any? Is it too vague to negotiate on it? Do you wait until their vote to see if they can even get it through? Could Republicans argue Democrats have done the same thing by adding on their own, pet policies or programs they want to cut?
Amika, it's simple. I worked on the Hill for 14, 15 years on these very spending deals. I was the top staffer on the Appropriations Committee. Guess what? We, in a bipartisan way, every year talk about what is the appropriate spending level for every single program. Let's do that. We have a process to do that. Why are we holding default, the possibility of default, hostage for a spending debate we have to have with each other? We just did it in December. Both parties came together, funded the government, decided what was the right amount for these various programs, and we did it together. Let's do that again. But we shouldn't be flirting with default in this country.
Director Young, good morning. Jonathan Lemire. We should note that it was early morning, about 2:30. The House ruled House Republicans seem to have struck some sort of deal. We're not sure yet if McCarthy has all the votes, but it seems like it is advancing to a vote to the floor. So we want to get your reaction to one other piece of it. The CBO, the Congressional Budget Office, you know well, turned in its projections yesterday and determined that the GOP's debt limit bill will reduce deficits by $4.8 trillion over 10 years. President Biden has spoken about the need to trim the deficit as well. Is there some sort of common ground there over that? And if not, what are the objections to that idea, that plan from the GOP?
So you're absolutely right. We saw a bill that had many cuts. I've laid out what some of those are. But guess what it isn't? It isn't a budget. Because in a budget, which the president put out, you would lay out what your tax policy is. What other spending do they want to do? So today we cut $4.8 trillion in programs that help working families in this country. Tomorrow, Republicans support tax policies that would add $3 trillion, depending on what estimate you use. So all those cuts will not be realized when you take all the policies that congressional Republicans have supported in the past. That's what I talk about in the vagary. It's up to them to figure out what they want to do with this bill, but we stand ready to talk about values, who you're for in this country, what's the right tax policy, how you spend it, how you achieve real deficit reduction. Both parties are going to have to come together to do that.
Director of the Office of Management and Budget, Shalanda Young, thank you very much for coming on the show this morning. It's good to see you. Thanks.